the moment you first met me, it was a warm midsummer night. And I knew you would never forget me. Though you didn't think that I'm your type. But baby, you sure had best get ready, 'cause I'm gonna make you change your mind. Now I don't know what you heard about me, but if it's bad, just know they're lying. I don't know why you'd ever doubt me, when you only need to give it time. 'Cause if you think you can do without me, then I'm gonna make you change your mind.
Welcome to Jazz Zone Together. Today, we're thrilled to welcome a truly unique talent and a remarkable contemporary vocalist, Milton Suggs. His entire life is focused on music, and we're extremely lucky to have him here with us today. Now, I'll bring in Dick Dunscomb to direct the interview with Milton. Dick, grab the mic, and it's all yours.
I got it, Bob. Thank you so much. Oh, I'm so excited to do this one today. Milton Suggs, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. It's great to see you. Great to be on your podcast. And yeah, it's been a good long time since we've connected. So this is really a special moment. So I'm appreciative to be here.
Oh, thank you. We are too. You know, we do this, and it's viewed by a lot of jazz artists as well as educators and people that are interested in the jazz area. All right, so let me tell you, I've known this guy as a student and beyond, but more on that later. I want to share a quote with you that describes him today. Firmly rooted in the blues, Milton sports a rich baritone with the breath, baritone with the breadth and power reminiscent of singers like Joe Williams. He is able to emote with the soulful intensity of singers like Danny Hathaway and achieve a velvet palette suggestive of Nat King Cole. Milton possesses a unique ability to evoke emotion with a masterful sense of phrasing and dynamics. I know that makes you proud, man.
Well, yeah, it's definitely something that I aspire to live up to, you know, with each performance for sure.
Great. Now, we like to start our interviews with the beginning of how our person got involved with music early in their lives, and some of the steps that led you to pursue music as your career. Let us have some of that information.
Well, sure. I come from a musical lineage. My father was a bassist, although he passed when I was an infant. You know, my mother always made sure that I was aware of his legacy, and so, you know, learning about him encouraged me to take up the bass in elementary school as in my school's orchestra program. So I did that from the ages or from grades 3 to 5. And from there, you know, I also participated, you know, during that same time, I also participated in like church choirs and things of that nature. And so, you know, from there, my musical experiences just kind of evolved and took shape. In middle school, I played saxophone for a year. And then in high school, I participated in the marching band as a percussionist. So, you know, I've had kind of a variety of different musical experiences with different instruments and different settings. And so, you know, after high school is when I really kind of started to take an interest in it and wanted to pursue it professionally as a lifetime calling. So that's really how that ended up working out.
Yeah, man. Okay, you were born in Chicago and you really kind of grew up in Atlanta. Tell us a little bit about the influence of both of those locations and how they impacted you.
Well, I guess the influence of Chicago itself kind of came after high school. I mean, you know, I moved back to Chicago following high school because I moved to Atlanta when I was 5 years old. And so I think that musical influence started more so after high school. I'm sure there's probably musical influence just from my family being, you know, raised in Chicago. But starting with Atlanta, one of the things about Atlanta is at that time, you know, the public school system, there were ensembles and instruments in the school system. So, you know, there was a band program, there was a chorus, there was orchestra. And so in third grade, we were able to choose what instrument we wanted to play, and then that was it. And so that's a really important and instrumental experience, no pun intended, but it's an experience that kind of really helped to shape my childhood and relationship to music. Also, you know, the culture of the South in terms of marching bands and things like that, that's also a big part of it. So there's just a lot of different styles of music and experiences that I was able to be exposed to. And then, you know, after high school, moving back to Chicago and just learning about this, such a legacy of that city. Chicago has a huge blues community as well as jazz tradition. And, you know, I was able to kind of learn about that really hands-on, you know, going to different venues and talking to different people. And then, you know, there are a lot of great music schools there. So when I started, you know, training I guess a quote unquote formal setting with at Columbia College and then DePaul University, you know, it just afforded me a lot of opportunities and a lot of exposure to music and just opportunities to create music with other people.
That's great experience. And I was the head of the music school at Columbia when you
Yes,
were a student there, and we hooked up on a lot of different things, as I would do with any student that I had.
Sure.
I was hoping that they would have a good career, but we
Yeah.
spotted your talent right away. It was just something to be proud of, and I knew that you had an association with the jazz and blues people in Chicago. Give us a little bit of an idea about some of those people.
Well, yeah. My father, one of the things that was very fortunate that he left, in addition to his instrument, his bass, which I still have and I still play and practice on, he left you know, musical relationships. So my godparents were the Pickenses, Willie and Irma Pickens. Willie Pickens is a Chicago staple on the Chicago music scene as a pianist, as an educator. And so when I decided I wanted to learn music, I called him, and I knew him as Uncle Willie. I don't think I even grew up knowing that he played music because I didn't follow, you know, I just knew him. Oh yeah, that's Uncle Willie. And my mom said, "Oh, why don't you call your godfather and ask him?" I was like, "Oh, he plays?" You know, and boy, does he play, right? And so he ended up providing me with lessons when I first moved back after high school. He didn't charge me. I would meet at his house every week, and we would do an hour or more of lessons. Sometimes his wife had to kick me out. It's like, okay, it's time for y'all to wrap it up. You know, his dinner's ready, or you know, it's time to eat or something. So that was really a huge something that my father left in terms of legacy for me to be able to follow. So it's really about the relationships. So people like Willie Pickens, Von Freeman, Fred Anderson, all people that he played with and performed with as a musician on the scene. So as I was in Chicago and I was meeting all these different people and developing some relationships of my own, that was kind of left there for me to kind of pick up and help me along as I, you know, gain some knowledge and wisdom from all of these people.
You're right. It's a rich town as far as music goes. And I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about your stay at Columbia. I know that you worked with Bobby Wilson and others there. Talk a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, well, Columbia was the first one. I'll say that, when I was deciding to, venture into music, a lot of programs, they required auditions. You had to have a certain skill level, a certain caliber, which I just didn't have at the time. I didn't grow up taking lessons and learning music. And so the fact that Columbia kind of had an open admissions policy and they accepted all of people of all skill levels was a huge benefit. And I was able to come in as kind of a brand new person. Now the work is much harder. You have a harder road to go, but it also requires a lot more dedication. And so that's one of the things that I credit Columbia with. And my experience at Columbia was really instrumental because it afforded me the opportunity. One, it gave me resources and places to perform in, I guess, a quote unquote safe environment, and just learning the craft without necessarily the added commercial pressures that that musicians face, once they get out into the world performing. So there's certain, stage presence and just performing for an audience and working with other musicians and learning that kind of as you go in different iterations. Also, the teachers there and the ensembles, I was able to sing with the big band and sing with other smaller groups and play in combos and get lessons from people like Bobby Wilson. And, it was, and Peter Sachs, who I took piano lessons from as well. And so that's one of the things that really was what helped me to kind of develop my confidence as a new performer, and gave me a foundation for when I did graduate and then started going into the world and making and writing and performing in other spaces. And so, yeah, that's really what a college, music program is about, kind of giving you that place to experiment and develop your voice or develop the beginnings of what might become your artistic voice as you go forward.
Yeah, that was a great experience. It was a very unique college in a lot of different ways, and it surely is proud that you were a part of us.
Yeah.
Now, I know you're on the road right now with the Jazz at Lincoln Center group. You have traveled with them for quite a while here now. Tell us about that journey.
Well, yeah, so it's Jazz at Lincoln Center presents the New Orleans Songbook. So I'm not performing with the orchestra per se, but a group that Jazz at Lincoln Center selected and put together for us to travel the country and perform a concert titled the New Orleans Songbook. So we're doing a bunch of songs that were written by New Orleans composers or just traditional New Orleans music. And we've been on the road since January 22nd, and we've hit several, probably about over 30 cities, doing various shows for regular audiences as well as student shows. And it's been a really fun time. It's been a lot of work, the traveling and getting up early to get on planes or to drive from here to there. But the music has been just really enjoyable to perform each night, and in different cities and just experimenting and trying different things. The thing about a concert, well, the thing about jazz in general, but a concert like this is that even though you're doing kind of the same set night after night, it gives you the opportunity to, approach the songs differently or try something new within the songs that you do. And so it's been interesting to see how the music has evolved, from day one to day 42, I guess, we're on now or something, or I don't know what day it is, but from the first show to the 42nd show or wherever we are now, it's just been a good time. So it's been a lot of fun and a really eye-opening experience for me because this is the longest tour that I've ever been on. And so it's definitely given me some perspective as well.
Boy, that's really neat. I'm telling you, that is a long tour too.
Yeah.
You don't know where you are when you wake up each day, right?
Right. Yes. I don't know where I've been. It's like, where was that city? How long ago was that? a city that we hit a month ago feels like, or a week ago feels like it happened a month ago, or, vice versa. So yeah, it does kind of put you in a time warp.
Mhm. So your vocal abilities have really been recognized and acknowledged by many in the music world, including Downbeat magazine, where you have been repeatedly named a rising star. And the real topper on that topic is a 5-star review that you received for your album. Man, that's incredible. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the album and what went into it.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, the album is called Pure Intention, and I released it in the summer of last year. And it's really just a duo album featuring myself and another pianist from Chicago. His name is Michael King. He's now based in New York, but I've been playing with him for years, and we finally got to really work together and do something concrete. And it consists of music that mostly music that I wrote lyrics to that were written by other like jazz composers such as, Cedar Walton or Benny Golson, Roy Hargrove, Mulder Miller, Lee Morgan. So tunes like that. And these are just songs that I wrote lyrics to, and we kind of came up with some arrangements really in the studio on the spot. And so that's the gist of the album. And, it was just, it was really fun, because it's kind of scaled down. It's not a full band. It's myself and a pianist. It gives us an opportunity to kind of explore and bounce off of each other in the moment, which is really good. And, I think when we create music, we all want it to, reach as many people or get, highly regarded. And so, but honestly, I was not expecting a 5-star rating and Downbeat, even as much as I did enjoy doing the project and I did like singing it. I guess that's maybe just a humility thing or whatever you want to call it. But I definitely it wasn't expected, but it was definitely welcomed. Because I do. It's been one of my favorite projects that I've recorded, and a lot of the music that I really love. So I'm glad it was recognized in that way.
And listen, if y'all haven't listened to this album, you better get it because it's incredible, and it's an indication of where you're going, isn't it, musically?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think it's certainly an indication of just where I've been for sure, and the things that I've just listened to and just come to love over the years. But it is also an indication of things that I would like to continue to do and expand on in the future.
Well, keep going because it's really a terrific opportunity that you've had, and you took the best of it. So you performed with a lot of exceptional performers, soloists, and ensembles. Maybe give us a story or two about some of those experiences and who they were.
Yeah, well, I will firstly acknowledge one of the ones that I really love. All of my experiences performing with people have been great, but since I started, especially in Chicago, I would go every year around January, February to see the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra play at Symphony Center in Chicago, and that was really the highlight of my year a lot of the times. And so when I was afforded the opportunity to actually perform for the orchestra with the orchestra in an educational setting, we did the music of Joe Williams. That was sort of a dream come true in terms of a performance experience, and that was really fun. The only bittersweet part of it was that I was very sick and I barely had a voice, so I couldn't emote or express fully to the fullest extent because I was down in cough syrup trying to not to be hoarse and popping Ricolas backstage, and so it was a little bittersweet because I'm like, man, I got I'm able to sing with the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra, but I'm up here and I'm trying not to cough into the mic, and I'm trying not to let my voice squeak, and but it was still fun nonetheless. I got through it, And it's definitely a great memory. I've also been able to perform with other musicians, such as, Wycliffe, projects by Wycliffe Gordon, uh, trombonist Craig Harris, and we just completed a musical in conjunction with the dance company in New York called um, the Urban Bushwomen, and that was a really great experience, working that music and doing something different in that way because it involved a little bit of acting and some dancing as well. So, and that's something I hadn't done prior to. Pianist Orrin Evans, all of these experiences have just been fun and really educational for me as I've grown. And also, I've also performed with other Chicago peers like trumpeter Marquise Hill, who went to Northern Illinois University. And so just so many rich performances that I've been fortunate to be a part of over the last 15, 20 years.
So what kind of scene was available in New York when you got that opportunity to perform there?
What type of scene?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, New York has always really had, one of the more vibrant scenes in the country. And so there are several clubs, of course, not as many as there, once were, but there are still many clubs and venues that are going strong and presenting jazz, and they're kind of all over the city in Manhattan and Brooklyn. So on any given night, and that's one of the things about New York as well, on any given night, you can go to any of these venues and sit in on a session or see world-renowned musicians playing in various places, in more than one in one night as well. And so that's really a powerful thing, and lots of different musicians, all kinds of skill levels, all kinds of styles playing in their element, and you have access to that. I think that, COVID kind of took things down a notch, and I think that's still on the mend in a lot of ways. But at this time, the time that I around the time I'm talking about with Jazz and Lincoln Center, I guess that was 2018. Yeah, it's still a pretty vibrant scene with a lot of opportunities to participate and listen and observe music.
That's really, in the past, that's been the epitome of the performance in jazz. People can say that they've done it in New York. It's like, okay,
right,
I've arrived.
right.
So your performance repertoire is quite varied. You combine a lot of different styles. Talk about that. And do you have a favorite style?
Yeah, I suppose I do combine a lot of different styles. I don't think of it so much in that way. I guess in terms of the music that I write, specifically, it's, I guess, the things that I grew up listening to and the things that I'm interested in. I try not to think of it as in terms of style so much as just, organic creation. I try to be as organic as possible in terms of what I create, and not think too much about what style or of anything that I'm writing in, even though it might be classified one way or another by various different people. I try to look at it, just as an organic outgrowth of all of my musical experiences and life experiences. So I don't know if I have a favorite style. Of course, there's so many individuals, musicians, and every musician has a style itself, even if they are within the same genre, whether it's jazz or R&B or soul. And from Stevie Wonder to Count Basie, there's so many. There are more commonalities about that music than there are differences. It's just maybe just the instrumentation or the time that they were created in has an influence and an impact. But really, the differences, to me, the differences are really negligible. And so it's hard for me to even think about them in terms of of style or what a favorite might be, because for me, it's all about one, it's just about something that feels good to listen to, that has a melody that feels good to sing and rhythm that, give you some type, inspire you to move in some type of way. And so whatever the style of music is, I mean, as long as it's got those elements, then it can be counted among my favorites.
Well, that's important. And young musicians like yourself, Greg Ward, others that are in that part of their career where you're just really getting things going and getting a following. A lot of our listeners are upcoming talents as well. Mm-hmm. So give us an idea about what you would say to a young musician, let's say he's a vocalist, who is trying to plan his career and the next steps. What would you say?
I would say my advice would be, number one is just to write, to continue to write, create whatever it is that you experiment with writing, without worrying about how it's going to be received or who's going to listen to it or who's going to like it or how many likes or clicks or views or whatever the case is. I would say write your music and document it, record it. There's so many resources to record music now that you don't necessarily have to go to a studio and pay thousands of dollars to record music. There's so many resources where you can do it at home. What goes hand in hand with that is also learn piano, learn as best you can, put some time into learning that instrument because it is a tremendous resource in helping you to expand what you can do on your instrument, whether it's voice or another type of instrument, a horn or whatever the case is. Learning that is a huge benefit. And also, I would say work within your network. No man is an island, no person is an island. So it's important to create relationships and develop relationships and link up with people that have similar interests or who are just as passionate about it and try to develop something with them. It doesn't necessarily mean starting a band or anything like that, which is something you can do if you want to. But what it does mean is use each other to inspire each other and, potentially work together. So someone that plays bass and they have some music, then sure, or you need a bassist, then you can get together and create music together and help each other's ideas come to light, bring each other's ideas to fruition. But yeah, primarily I would say make sure that you're writing, of course, practicing and all of that, and just expose yourself to the wider music community at large. Go check out music, listen to as much as you can, and talk to people who are a little more experienced and just observe, listen and observe. And that's the start.
You touched on some things that many of our guests have mentioned as being keys to successful growth, and that is piano and listening. You talked a little bit about the piano. Now, tell us about the importance of listening.
Well, yeah, I mean, as that old saying goes, we have two ears and one mouth for a reason. So our input is able to be double of what we output. And I think that's important. What you listen to and how you listen to it is important in informing what you end up creating or what comes out. What goes in is what comes out. So, we listen to music and we do that in order to, one, discover what the things that resonate with us, the things that, we like, and the things that we like, it also in turn also informs the things that we create. So we get to know ourselves through listening just as much as we get to learn about what's out there. So listening to a record, not everybody's going to like the same things, but when you're drawn to something and you can listen to it, focus on it, and study it, then that helps you become, it helps you define yourself and your artistry to a greater degree.
That's such good information, Milton. It's important that those skills are tested and improved as you go through your career. Tell us, before we leave this topic completely, paint a picture of us, of what led you down the path to the writing.
Yeah, writing, I guess writing is just something that I always wrote words and lyrics for a long time. I guess, poetry and for quite a while before I even, really started to focus on music itself. But I was encouraged to write even more by, people like Bobby Broom, guitarist who I took lessons with while I was in grad school, and he encouraged me to write as much as possible because, that's your identity, that's your artistic voice, and so I think what led me down to that path is one, just feeling like I had something to express, or just the understanding the importance of, making sure everybody has something to say, everybody has a voice, everybody has experiences. And so I think it's important that we, take the time to document them, to put them out, to share them. And so that's kind of what was the catalyst for me to develop that skill of my own.
So let's talk a little bit about the future and the present. What are you working on, and what can we expect from you in the future?
Right now, I'm working on, I have several projects on the horizon, just songs, individual songs that I just want to complete, and compositions that I'm working on completing and creating, and also just larger projects that I have conceptions of that I would like to get when I get done with this tour. I can get home and sit and start to flesh things out and put some more time in it. But this year, I would like to release one or two projects of music that I have written, and just things that I want to actually get that I've written and that are ready to be recorded, and hopefully I can release something later this year.
So let's get a little more specific about that. I
Sure.
know that again, the people that are listening, are fascinated by the recording part of your career. What goes into it as you're beginning to put these projects together and to get into the recording studio or wherever you're going to record?
Mm-hmm.
Give us a little info on that.
Well, for me, for example, the project, one of the things about that I do that I've always liked to do is write lyrics. And so just like the last album, Pure Intention, that I released last year, I have a lot of lyrics that I've written to music, popular or just music that has been written by other jazz composers and musicians. And so, I just like to continue to work on that and write the lyrics and come up with the arrangements. And once the arrangements are fleshed out and I practice it at home and I work through it and write it, it's written out on paper, then the next step really is just to go into the studio, or whatever method of recording it can be. Now that like I said, recording is a lot more accessible to, and that it doesn't necessarily have to be in a studio. You can create either demo recordings or other recordings from your living room. And so that's really something that I've been exploring, is just, using my keyboard, what piano skills that I do possess, and bass skills that I do possess, to record things at home and then send them off to a drummer and have him put some drums on the recordings as well. And so you can, even if it's not something that, of the same caliber that you might do at a full recording studio, it does give you an idea of something that you can, put together, an idea of something of what you will be able to release. And you can also, depending on how good it sounds, you can release it to the public as well. And so that's probably something that I would look to do and continue to do this year. If not going into a studio and recruiting the musicians that I would like to perform with, and scheduling the rehearsals, and then you just go into the studio and lay the music down and do a session.
Listen, you have shared so much really insightful information with our viewers today. It's been a terrific interview. Is there anything else that you would like to say to the viewers?
Yeah, I just, one, I'd like to express gratitude for, being invited to participate on this podcast. And it's been a really great conversation. As far as anything that I might say to the viewers is just, if you're watching, thank you for your time for watching. If you are a musician yourself, then, keep creating, keep making music. If you're an educator, then keep encouraging and keep inspiring, and I think everything else will take care of itself.
Well, Milton, it's been a pleasure and an honor to see you and to listen to your words today. You're such a humble young man, and I remember that about you and about your sincerity about producing the music and singing it as well as performing it. That this is the kind of person that we are all very, very proud of. We're just looking forward to being a part of your career. And once again, thank you for a wonderful interview.
Thank you.
I'll echo that. And thank you, Milton. And we appreciate the time and the insight that you've shared with us. To our viewers, thanks for joining us for this Jazz Zone Together interview. Please check our entire library of interviews. We know you'll find them of real value to your program. Watch for updates as we're adding new interviews regularly.
Remember the moment you first met me? It was a warm midsummer night. And I knew you would never forget me. Though you didn't think that I'm your type. But baby, you sure had best get ready, 'cause I'm gonna make you change your mind. Now I don't know what you heard about me, but if it's bad, just know they're lying. I don't know why you'd ever doubt me, when you only need to give it time. 'Cause if you think you can do without me, then I'm gonna make you change your mind.